Hi everyone, welcome to Shimmer Girl Talks. Today's topic, I'm kind of surprised that I let this one kind of slip through the cracks, but I have discussed it with other people before, and that is a comment that Sherri Shepherd made on the Steve Harvey show. And I'm sorry I could not find the original clip to that. All I saw were like other content creators responding to it. But I'm going to post Chisa Zeds. I know I probably did not say his name right. So I'm going to post his video so you can see what she said. So what she said was, I don't want your husband, but if you know a single mother, send your husband over to her to help maybe with her son or whatever. Lunacy. Absolute lunacy. I see that being a big old hot mess later down the road. So you want a married woman to send her husband to a single mother's home that she has no control over. She does not know what's in that woman's heart, to give that woman provision and protection and all of that stuff. Send your husband to pick up the slack for a man that that the single mother did not try to procure for herself. This is what gets on my nerves with a lot. I remember I used to have this conversation, not this particular one, but years ago, when you would have, and I wasn't even married at the time, but I understood some things. And you had some women, like it was like a matter of like trusting your husband and trusting your friends and stuff like that. And even back then, I had the presence of mind to know that familiarity oftentimes opens up the door for impropriety. So you're going to be sending your husband to a vulnerable woman who, I don't know if Sherri Shepherd was joking or not, but 10 times out of 10, she wasn't joking. And as I've said in previous videos before about a lot of Black women, they fight the whole idea of the nuclear family. They want to create another type of a family outside of the nuclear family, and they're still not getting the results that they want. So I remember years ago, and Auntie, if you watching this, you did tell me this a long, 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 long time ago. I think you only had one child at the time. And years ago, she and her husband, they used to live in an apartment building. And she told me that there was this single mother that lived below them. And the woman always spoke to her husband, but wouldn't speak to my aunt. And I can't remember, the conversation that my aunt and I used to have about this. And like I said, this was more than 2 decades ago, at least. I wasn't married. But again, I understood, some things. And I remember my grandmother told me two things my granny told me. Years ago, I don't know how old my grandmother was, but she said some neighbor woman told her, sometimes you have to share your husband. Now, do you think if that woman had a husband and my grandmother was single, she would be saying that? You know she wouldn't. And then I remember another time, now this was in my lifetime, because I think the when that first woman told my grandmother that, I probably wasn't born yet, so it was like decades ago. But the one that my grandmother told me the second time, it was another neighbor. I think I was probably around at that point, but she said, my grandmother, she was walking up to the house or something like that, or she had came outside for, whatever reason. And she said some woman in her neighborhood said, send your husband over here. I need him to do something for me. My grandmother, if you knew my grandmother, of course, she was like, lady, you out your mind. She didn't tell my grandfather nothing. Because how are you going to go to a wife and demand that she send her husband over to help you? Please. And for Sherri Shepherd to say something like that, of course, women who don't have husbands, nothing to lose, it's easy for that to just flow off their mouth. Well, you should be able to help. He can help me because I'm over here struggling and stuff. You chose to struggle. Why didn't you prioritize a husband? And that's another thing. And I did a video on this already. Dr. Umar, he said something similar. Now, granted, he's a man talking to other men, but I still did not agree with what he said. And like I said, I've already done a video. But Dr. Umar blamed professional, upwardly mobile Black men for leaving the community and, and in a sense, leaving young Black males, you know, without protection and provision and all of that stuff, to go move to either better communities or whatever with their wives. This is why the single motherhood rate just keeps rising. There's no end in sight because a lot of single mothers have a lot of excuses made for them. They get a lot of help, so they don't really see a big deal about, why, they shouldn't choose to be a single mother or not. One moment, because I got to check on my dog because he's kind of quiet. Just as I thought, he was up to no good. I usually like to try to do these videos when my husband is here. That way he can keep the dog quiet. But if I'm out of the room, he likes to bark. But anyway. But that was my video for today. I thought that was a very ridiculous thing to say. Ladies, get your own husbands. Vet properly. Be wife material for these men. Because, again, the women who are saying, yeah, your husband, he should be able to help me and blah, blah, blah. They don't have husbands. So, of course, it's very easy for them to want to borrow your husband. Oh, and there was another story, and I've already said this before, but there was a chef, a television chef that I used to like to watch. Her name was, I can't remember her name, and I used to watch her all the time too. But I've mentioned her in another video before. Well, when her husband was dying of cancer, her best friend, well, I won't say best friend, but a good friend of hers, would send her husband over to her house, Nigella. It was Nigella Larson. Used to send her husband over to Nigella's house to comfort her. Why a woman would send her husband to another woman's house to comfort that woman is beyond me. Well, what do you think happened? They fell in love. And next thing you know, he's divorcing his wife to marry Nigella. Now, that story is from a long time ago. I don't know if it's been erased off the records or whatever, but I remember that's what I remember hearing about her. And I used to really like her, but after hearing that she would do a friend like that, it's just disgusting. But she had a fabulous show. I did like her show. But you know what, young ladies, if you have a husband or if you don't have a husband, your husband comes before anybody else. You two are one. Don't let these women who don't have husbands tell you how you're supposed to be in your household with your husband. Close your ears to them. So that is my topic for today. Please like, subscribe, and check out my other videos before you do. Talk to you later. Bye.